So we got sent in a question, which is a perfect jumping off point for some useful self-inquiry, hopefully. So I want to go through, read the question first, and then go through how to do that, because no matter how many times you've seen what you really are, every time you see it, it will be deeper and clearer. And this question really highlights an area where I got very confused. So I think it will be useful for everyone. I got confused in many places, but that's another story for another day. It says, hi, Helen. If I ask the question, when you look for yourself, what do you find? I can't find anything else than my body, mind. How can I find something else? I do most of your meditations. During those times, I feel good, relax, and I can see that I have a different perspective on life. I like them very much, and all your satsangs help me to progress on this path, but I don't see that I am the space, the silence, and definitely not infinite. I know it is not me or my name, but I don't understand what else I'm supposed to find. Thank you. I think this is just about the most frustrating part for me, was when I knew there was something else to find, but I couldn't seem to actually find it. And, you know, you'd hear all these great teachers say it's here all the time. You know, it's hidden in plain sight, which just makes it even more irritating, right, when you can't find it. So let's look at that today. And I'd ask everyone to follow along, no matter how many times you've seen what you are, or if you're new to it, you can get just as much out of it this time as the rest of us, just by following on as much as you can. And then after I've done this, I'll open it up for questions. And if you have a challenge following this completely, that would be a good point to raise if you want to. Well, I got stuck at this point when you said this and I couldn't confirm that, or I couldn't go this further. So I can't find anything else than my mind and body. So right now, your mind and your body are sitting wherever they're sitting, in whichever room, whichever country they're sitting in. And if we're looking for something else that is us, our real self, our body and our mind are temporary and they're going to disappear at some point. What else is there that is permanent? So again, by contrast, the moving and changing and becomingness of your body mind are giving you contrast to that which is not changing. This is how we come to recognize it. So if your body and mind were to suddenly disappear, just in our imagination, not in reality, nothing's going to happen, there would be empty space in which they previously were. Or if you look at the room that you're sitting in and imagine all the furniture and objects and everything, everyone in it suddenly disappearing, there would still be the empty room, wouldn't there, left? So by contrast of the objects and the things in the room, we can see the empty room that we probably wouldn't pay much attention to otherwise. And in the self-inquiry here, when I contrast against my body and mind that are coming and going, there is something in which they're appearing that isn't actually a thing. We can call it blank, empty space for now. Let's call it that. It probably doesn't seem very exciting. Certainly didn't come with all the bells and whistles that I thought was supposed to happen when I recognized it. In fact, it was just, well, empty space, no big deal. And the challenge is that we're looking for something else, something different, something that we haven't experienced before. We're waiting for something new to show itself as our real self. But if the real permanent self is here all the time, it must have been here all the time. We just have learned to overlook it, to label it as not important, this space in which everything appears. Your body and mind need the space in which they're appearing, for them to appear? Could they be here without it? Could anything be here without the space in which it's all showing up? And yet, how much importance do we give to that? So we're not looking for something else in terms of something new. We're not looking for something else in terms of something different. We're looking for something else that isn't an object. So there is something that isn't an object, and that is the space that is all around your body and mind. It actually goes right through your body and mind. And your body and mind is, do you want to just leave it for now? Thanks. Your body and mind is just appearing in it, made of it, and it is not actually different to it, but for the sake of this investigation at least, could your body and mind be here? Could any of the furniture in the room you're sitting in, any of the objects, inanimate, animate, all of that be here without the empty space first? And hasn't it always been here? Was there ever a time when that empty space was absent? So if we took all our bodies out of this room we're sitting in here now, we took all the furniture out, if we destroyed the room in which we're all sitting, the house, the countryside, everything, the empty space would still be completely untouched. It doesn't begin or end. Even if the planet suddenly disappeared and reappeared across the other side of the galaxy, the empty space it was sitting in would still be completely untouched. And because it's always been there, we haven't given it any importance. We tend to overlook, we tend to assign a label to this empty space, that it's just empty space. But it's actually so much more than that. We experience it as nothing special because of the labels that we're perceiving it through. What if it was the most important thing you could ever discover, ever? What if it was the most important thing that anyone could ever discover? And yet at the same time, it's the most obvious, normal thing ever. Wherever your body goes for eternity, and then when that body drops the next one, you're always going to be moving around inside this empty space. You cannot get outside of it, can you? Even if you went to the other side of the planet, the other side of the universe, it would still be all happening inside this emptiness, this space. So surely it must be more relevant, more important to us than the things that are moving and changing, at least for a short while, until we can come to see. So first is to recognize there is this kind of empty space, which I've always just said is empty space. It's not at all special. Certainly doesn't bring me peace, love, and joy, perhaps, that I've heard happens upon recognition of it. That bit for me was a bit of a misnomer. It was really only, there was a relief and a peace, but then only when I'd worked through all the beliefs that were in the way of that did I have peace, constant peace, effortless peace. So if you notice it now, and it doesn't seem life-changing, that's okay. It wasn't for me either. I just began to notice that when I focus on that, instead of a thought or an emotion, or an experience or a sensation in the body, began to feel quite peaceful. You can do it right now, just noticing the empty space, making no attempt to change anything happening inside it. That includes your mind and all of that. Just noticing that, you begin to feel, I can't suffer here. When my attention is on this, I can't suffer. I also can't resist anything. When my attention is on this empty space, I can't be in opposition to anything else. I can't be resisting this moment, which is why we don't suffer. If we're looking at phenomena, so my thoughts, my body, the stuff in the room, subtle phenomena, thoughts, emotions, experiences, external gross phenomena, then we'll be trying to change something about it. If our attention is on the empty space, we won't be able to change. We won't want to change anything. And we'll be free and happy. The longer you keep your attention on that empty space, the more peaceful you're going to feel. And the more some things will come up that begin to show you, this is an old way of seeing myself. I'm not safe. I'm not good enough. I can't get what I want, are going to come up in contrast now to what you've seen. That's going to happen even before you recognize this empty space is what you are. First, it's just here, and you notice it and you put attention on it. It's not something else that's new or has appeared. It's always been here. We overlook the obvious as human beings. There's nothing more obvious about any room than the empty space in it, and yet we overlook it every time. Every time. We've been trained to regard the moving and changing phenomena as so much more exciting and important. And to chase those, to try to juggle all the phenomena. And this idea that pervades human consciousness, that there's a way that I can juggle all these phenomena, get them looking this way, and then I'll be happy. And I've never managed that. I don't know if you guys have, but not me. And I found that when I put attention on the empty space, everything started to rearrange itself anyway. And how I've been trying so hard to manipulate it anyway, started to happen anyway by itself. Because finally, the first time in my whole existence, and who knows how many bodies have come and gone in that imaginary existence as a separate being, finally, I was not resisting this moment. So first noticing it, it's not something else, it's not an object, which is why we overlook it. We're looking for some other object. It's my body, there's my mind, there isn't anything else as in an object. But there is that which is not an object. If we took the walls of this building down, we'd see the space doesn't really have, there isn't really space in this room that I'm sitting in, and there's a smaller room behind, and there's a bathroom over there, an entrance hall. Is that really the bathroom space and the smaller room space? Does it really work like that if you're sitting in your house? Is there space in the living room and then space in your bedroom? Or is there just space and the walls are just artificially dividing it? And if you didn't have a body as a reference point for where you were in that space, how would you know where you are? You don't really know now where you are, you know where your body is. So, recognizing the space by contrast of what's appearing in it, and then putting some attention on this space. Recognizing that if you aren't living in constant peace, love, joy, and abundance, there must be more to see about this space, no matter how much you've seen. This was the hardest lesson for me to get. That I could keep experiencing this space more and more and more. This thing that seems the exact same, wherever you go on the planet, the empty space would feel the same. It seemed to be the same. But when I actually experience it, I'll experience it deeper each time, and it'll be clearer and clearer. And then after you've got used to recognizing it, focusing on it more than the objects, when you can, and we're calling that meditation, focusing on that which isn't a phenomenon, rather than attention automatically going to phenomena. You can begin to ask questions like, where am I in this? Is there a me and this space? You can do that right now. Is there a me living in this body, noticing this space? There's a body, there's thoughts, mind, emotions, sensations. But is there a separate being called you, or whatever your name is, inside this space somewhere? Are you actually, there's someone somewhere that you can find that is recognizing the space? What is actually hearing these words? These words are going in through your ears. What is recognizing the meaning? Is there a separate being that I'm talking to when you actually look? And amazingly, when I actually looked, there was no separate being. I only found the space. And my body, of course, and thoughts and emotions. There was no Helen entity that I could find. Seemed to be here, still does. But I couldn't find anything separate. So how to recognize this space is you. Well, if you try to find you as an object and you don't, there is no objective me. There's a body, but is there anyone living in it? What's living in this body or your body? Can you actually find someone? It seems to be there and it's not going to disappear, that seems to be. But just to be clear, can I actually find where I stop and the next person starts? Where's the imaginary dividing line between my being and everyone else's that in the room? Where does that actually exist? Just slowing down and actually looking and proving to ourselves that we cannot find anyone as an object. Come to recognize that I am not an object. The only thing I find when I ask this question is this empty space. And when I ask the question, what really am I? After I remove all the parts that are going to, at least from my inquiry, that are going to disappear, my thoughts, my emotions, my experiences, my body, my relationships, my bank accounts, all of that is going to go. My car, my dreams, my goals, everything else will go on it. The house I'm living in, the body I'm renting for a while. The only thing that remains permanently and answers that question, what really am I, is this empty space. Everything else is going to go, even the waking, dreaming, sleeping states, consciousness, unconsciousness, it's all going to go. So first, to recognize there is this other part of you, and then to begin to prove, once you're used to it a little bit, that it is you. And how do we do that? By the fact that that's the only thing we find when we actually look. That there isn't a me and it when I actually look. When I sit down and talk like this, it sounds like I'm here describing this greater space of being. But is that really true? Can I actually prove that? Or is that just an assumption that's held on for millennia, plaguing my very existence? Well, at first it was fun to think I was a separate being and experience all of that. But not so much now, otherwise you wouldn't be in Satsang. Or not at all, or immensely painful and agonizing. So first discover it, by contrast, then see if there's a you and it, the most popular held myth of all humanity, the most popular held myth of all time. There is a me and it, and I somehow have to get back to it. What if that is utterly, utterly false? And wouldn't that belief diminish your experience of it? If you think you're separate to it, on some level at least, still experiencing being separate from this space of being, wouldn't that diminish how joyful it is when you actually notice it? How does it feel to notice it when you know you are it? When you are completely insubstantial and nothing can harm you? and that you never began or never will end, and that you have watched eons come and go, cosmos come and go. The universe is appearing inside you, and it doesn't affect you at all. And then even deeper than that, to come to recognize this is made out of this. All this is made out of the space of being. How to recognize that. Ask what anything actually is. What is this table actually? What is this body actually? What is this emotion actually that I'm feeling? What is this other being that really, really irritates me, pushes my button? What is that person really? And then the final step in that seeing is this is all there is. There is not actually such categories as empty space and objects, but they are synonyms. Objects and subjective are synonyms. Manifest, unmanifest are two ways to describe the emptiness, the empty space. It's so magnificent. You are so magnificent. You can show up as all of this and as nothing at all. Somebody's squinting, I think. Form and formless are synonyms. Form really means only something that we can finally perceive, a subtle inner form, or something we can perceive with our senses. That's all it means. To make manifest means to appear visible, not to actually change it. Just like empty blue sky has invisible water vapor in the sky, and then it becomes visible as a cloud, and we say a cloud's formed. But the water was there anyway, just invisible. Now it's visible. We call it manifest. We call it form. We actually believe that something happened. Something happened. This manifested. Well, it just became visible to your senses. It's now on a frequency where your eyes can see it or your ears can hear it. I don't expect you to be able to confirm all of this all along the way. Just noticing, I mean, you might be able to, but just noticing where you kind of get a little stuck on that, and that's okay. That's my job, is to lay out the steps of it. Your job is to try to follow that and then ask for help when you get stuck at some point along that, because we all do. Because it's obvious to me that this isn't anything different than the body and mind is looking for it. But it wasn't at first. It seemed totally opposite. And I was so convinced there was someone here looking for it. It took me a long time to get over the shock of the realization there isn't anyone, actually. And then to navigate all the beliefs that came up in opposition to that. When I thought myself to be a someone, that someone came along with lots of baggage, excess baggage. Very expensive traveling like that, isn't it? All these suitcases of guilt and shame and anger and fear and unworthiness, and I needed a whole airplane just to kind of fit these suitcases on. So then to look at these and say, are these still true for me now if I am this empty space of being? Am I getting old? Am I going to die? Am I unworthy? Am I deserving of being happy? Am I limited? Am I changing? All of that will be called into question to examine now, given what you've seen. So it's not else. The word else denotes another object, something else, something other than my body mind I'm looking for. What if it's always been right here? It's the very space in which the looking is happening. As if the space is curious about itself and created this body mind to ask this question, what am I actually? And then come to discover what it actually is. So the last one, I don't see that I am it, and the silence, and definitely not infinite. Okay. And you had missed one bit. So we're here at this empty space, can't find a separate being in the space. Then we arrive at the conclusion by seeing again and again and again. Each time we don't find someone in the space, it becomes clearer we must be this space. If that's the only thing here. So then, after that conclusion, are you still limited as an object, or are you the subjectivity itself, empty space? And where does that empty space stop? If we look at it right now, we could say it stops at that wall there, or this one here, or it stops up against here and starts again behind my body. But if it's not a thing, where does it stop? Does it stop? Does the space stop either side of my hand? If it's not a thing, is my hand moving through the space? That's what we say, isn't it? It's a popular way to look at it. But is my hand going to actually push the space out of the way if it is completely insubstantial? Ian's trying to work it out. It's such a myth, isn't it? It's such a well-believed myth that I'm moving the space. If I put a cup down in this empty space, I'm displacing the space. Is it really displaced by these walls and these bodies and these objects? Can it be? How would you bump up against empty space and push it out of the way? Can you actually do that? Have you ever thought like this? Have you ever really investigated like this? I got really curious about this. Is there any object I could put in the empty space where the empty space would have to move out of the way? Is it one or the other? Formlessness is utterly devoid of anything substantial at all. You cannot push it out of the way even with an object. So how far does it reach then? Is it stopped by any of these walls? Where does it end? Mustn't it also be right at the very center of every object? And then later we come to see it is appearing also as every object. It is everywhere there is an object. Seems to be an object. It is everywhere the universe is then. And beyond, how would you measure beyond without an object, the universe? If we suddenly remove the universe, how would you know how far it reaches then? And you really start to touch upon infinite then, what the word infinite really means. Bigger than the biggest thing we can ever imagine, which would be right now the universe. No form arising inside it as it is going to displace it. It is everywhere at all times, just as the cloud doesn't displace the sky that it forms in. It is the same thing, just become visible. The universe is just this empty space being visible. But where does it stop? If you don't have a reference point of an object, I'm on a rant now, sorry. Where would it stop? So I just want to reassure you and say that if you don't immediately grasp all of this, that's completely normal. That's why we have satsang, isn't it? Nobody teaches us to think like this, to investigate like this. You're not going to get this kind of lesson in school. Okay, this morning, I'm going to study maths. And after that, we're going to look at form and formless and see if they're really different. It'd be cool if they did. This is why we have satsang. It's really a school of reality, isn't it? What it actually is, how to recognize it, how to overcome the obstacles towards it. Recognizing that maybe you have this body to allow you to contrast without the objects here. Would the empty space notice itself? If it always been here, everywhere, at all times, undivided, how would it recognize itself? It's not using the body and mind to recognize itself. Only the empty space can recognize itself, but it uses the contrast of the moving, the changing, becoming of the universe, coming and going, to recognize itself. I've always been here, always. Unchanging, eternal, unblemished. Nothing has ever happened to you. Everything else is attached onto this idea that I'm someone in the space. Everything else.